Before we jump into all things exponents, I want to make sure that we're familiar with the language that we're going to use consistently in this unit. And probably the best way to demonstrate the difference between the two key vocabulary words we're going to need to keep track of is to see how each of these two terms is put to use in the context of addition to begin with. So what we're looking at here is an expression using repeated addition. So we know that would be an example of a sum because of the fact that it's addition. We can see that in this case, the expression is 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. Now, there's two ways we can go about dealing with this numeric expression. Numeric in the sense that it's an expression made up only of numbers. It's not an algebraic expression that has variables incorporated into it as well. We can take this expression and we can simplify it. And you can see that's what I've done here on the left by way of rewriting this repeated addition expression as either 5 times 2 or using the commutative property 2 times 5. We're simplifying it in the sense that we're taking an expression that starts out by using repeated addition and we're making it easier to look at by way of replacing that repeated addition with multiplication. If we wanted to take it to the next step, then what we are now doing is evaluating. So here, when we actually calculate what 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is, simplified as 5 times 2 or 2 times 5, we evaluate it as a value of 10. We find the value of it. So that being said, we can apply the same concepts to an expression that starts out as repeated multiplication. And this example is an example of a product because we're repeatedly multiplying. Here we see 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 one more time by 2. So if we want to simplify that expression, the way we simplify repeated multiplication is by way of using exponents. So we would take that 2, and we see how many of them there are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we raise it to the exponent of 5. So the way we simplify this product of 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is to rewrite it more simplified as 2 to the 5th power. Since again it's a numeric expression, we have the ability to actually calculate what that is, and that would be the process of evaluating. We're now going to find the value of this because we have the ability to multiply this 2 repeatedly or raise this 2 to the 5th power, which is the simplified way of repeatedly multiplying it. So if you don't know what 2 to the 5th is, we can just keep track of multiplying it as we go. 2 times 2 we know is 4. Times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 one more time is 32. So the evaluated outcome of that expression, of that product, is 32. So sometimes we may not be able to do both evaluating and simplifying. And when we won't be able to do that is when we don't have numbers involved. So in this next example, this is once again a product. But it's a product of variables. So this is an algebraic expression. It's not a numeric expression like up above. So we can still simplify it, replacing the repeated multiplication with an exponent. What are we raising? We're raising this repeated multiplied n. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 of them. So we're raising it to the 5th power, similar to what we did with the 2 up above. But we cannot evaluate. We cannot evaluate because we don't know what n is. Once we know what n is, we can evaluate. We can say now, so the only way we can evaluate only if n is given a value in which we could substitute in and calculate. So, for example, evaluate when n equals 2. Well, that would just mean 2 to the fifth. We're right back to where we started up above, which equal 32, right? 3 to the fifth, we could calculate 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 again. Okay, so we can't evaluate algebraic expressions unless we're given a value with substitute in. So just be mindful of the difference of the language. I know it seems very straightforward, but simplify means just to write in a simpler way. Evaluate means to find the value of, to actually calculate when you have the ability to calculate with numbers that are part of your expression.